Megan, War Stories, episode 10. Where do you want to start?
Oh, rough episode. So let's start with what's shiny and happy and nice about the episode. The story this week opens with the team on Serenity enjoying the fruits of their criminal labors. For perhaps the first time, everyone is flush with cash. Jane is incomprehensibly being very generous with his. I thought it was interesting that the treat of fresh apples was like this extraordinary, lovely luxury. And I think that really is a good example of the world that they're living in. But everyone's having a good time. Everyone's happy. All is well. Inara is planning for a special guest visitor who's going to be coming aboard the Serenity. And all seems right in the world. For the moment.
The special visitor. That whole sort of subplot I thought was extraordinarily cool because she wanted to have basically a private ceremony where the woman involved, the guest involved came on and they went directly to their cabin without prying eyes. And of course, that was never going to happen.
There were prying eyes.
There were prying eyes. Now, the prying eyes didn't see anything other than who the guest was, and which was enough.
For the speculation to begin.
And what did you think about our guest?
They were lovely. And I think they were delightful. I'm sure this was not the counselor's first time working under the assumption that she would be a man. So I thought it was lovely. I thought the conversation she and Inara had was really nice about how sometimes it is just nice to not have to deal with the company of men. I like that Inara pointed out most of her clientele is male, but not all the time, and I bet they just had a great time.
Did you feel like in any way the guest or the counselor actually preferred the company of women and had to put up the front of being a heterosexual? Did that enter at all?
I don't know, in the universe. It's hard to tell how they were playing it because there was the haha lesbian sex, how exciting, like I'll go to my bunk sort of thing happening, and everyone was shocked and surprised. So I don't know how, I guess, common queerness is in the verse.
It was more
certainly available for hire, but I don't know.
It wasn't so much that, it was the guest or the counselor, was she inclined to want to be with a woman, but because of her position, she couldn't. Not that she was just tired of being pawed over by men all the time.
I like to think that in the far future, there can be a lesbian politician, and it's not a big deal. But it's not a very nice future they're positing. So maybe she does have to keep up a front. And I think both could be plausible.
But this was all really the subplot.
Yeah.
So we have to get to the main plot. And the main plot is that they are going to sell some of the drugs. And they go to the planet's surface to sell some of the drugs. And they're met by the purchasers. And we see the ominous red dot on one of the purchasers' forehead. And Mal immediately knows what that means. Hits the deck. And the three purchasers are killed. You want to pick it up from there?
Yeah, because we know by whom they've been killed. It is the return of Niska, the formidable Russian gangster that we met in, I think, the second or third episode, Train Job. They did not complete the work, and they did send one of Niska's treasured companions through an engine turbine. So there's a little bad blood there. And unfortunately, Mal and Wash, and we should talk about why Wash is on this mission instead of Zoe, are captured by the gangster who has a proven reputation for hideously violent torture. Not so fun. But yeah, let's talk about why Wash is there for a second, because Wash and Zoe had an interesting interlude right before this.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first times we've really seen serious conflict in their relationship about something that you've pointed out before, the relationship between Zoe and Mal. And Wash expresses his jealousy that Elle and Zoe are so close and they have all these stories together and they're bonding, and that he doesn't feel like he's being taken seriously as a contributor to the crew, which I think was his real issue rather than actual jealousy. What was your... Yeah.
See, I thought it was just base jealousy.
I don't think it was just base jealousy. Yeah, I think it was about his role in the crew, and I think he felt that everyone takes Zoe more seriously than him, but he is a person whose contributions are worthy as well. That's how I read it.
They should take Zoe more seriously. He's a teenage boy, and she's a woman, first of all. Two, I've never met a pilot who wasn't the cockiest bastard on the ship. So
Wash is so sweet.
He is sweet, but he's a pilot. He's a good pilot. And I've just never seen a pilot not believe that their contribution was the most important because, hey, I'm the pilot. I really thought it was almost just this teenage boy, puppy dog. Oh, my wife, my girlfriend, my friend is close to another boy, male, man, and I'm going to get in between and show them.
Yeah, I read it as more as him being like, no, I'm as good as my wife. And I want people to see that. I think that's why he wanted to go with Mal instead of asking Zoe not to come and send Jane instead. He wanted it to be him.
As in almost every TV, movie, story, when the non-fighting member of the crew goes on a mission, it all goes very badly. And
they must not have movies in the future.
And it does go very badly. But let's talk about Niska for a moment, because we didn't talk about the actual start of this episode, and that's with the preacher. And I think he's with Mal.
Or Simon.
Right. Simon.
Yeah.
And they're discussing basically the philosophy of torture. And
yeah, it's the art of war they were talking about, I'm quoting.
And it turns out Niska's a fan of this book. And Niska does not engage in torture simply to cause pain. And he doesn't do it simply to make sure his enemies know what he's made of, although that's part of it. For him, it's almost an intellectual exercise to see how far someone will go or how far he can go. And when you have that kind of torturer, you have much worse torture because they don't have a defined goal. They want to get to the bottom, and they're going to go all the way.
They say it's about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly. It's all about the journey. And most torturers have a destination in mind. And we have some fairly graphic, I thought, for television torture scenes in this. And then Zoe, I can't remember how they find out Niska has them, but Zoe gets everyone's money together to ransom both, she thinks.
Of course, and not even a word of complaint from anyone, not even Jane.
No. And now, do you think she didn't have enough money, or Niska was never going to give up Mal?
Oh, he was never going to give up both of them. But I
Right.
think that the really interesting moment, like right before Zoe came in charging with her gift basket of cash, is I loved how Mal was trying to talk Wash through the torture. And he was trying to make him mad by saying all of these things that are presumably Wash's worst fears. Oh, Zoe and I, yeah, it's so great. But anyway, he was just goading him to try and keep him conscious. And I just thought that was so sweet and so kind under this horrible wrapping, but I loved that. And of course, the amount of money would never have been enough for Niska, because that's, again, you say that's not the point, really. It's not outcome focused. He didn't just want money. But he thought he would have some fun with Zoe, too, by forcing her to choose between these two men that she loved. And she's just like, nope, husband. No question, husband.
And that was really the end stone for me around this jealousy in what I saw from Wash, because, and the difference in maturity between Zoe and Wash, and the difference in a male and a female. While he's worried about, oh, my wife has a male friend, she's, oh, him. That doesn't even
There's
flinch.
no choice to make.
No choice to make. And she took, without reservation, sorry, Mal, got you on the flip. And I don't know,
Have a nice
that just, yeah, exactly. So she gets her husband, she gets Wash, she goes back and gets on board, and she decides she wants to go back and rescue Mal.
Wash decides.
Wash decides, right?
Wash decides. He's just, nope, he got me through the torture, then you saved me, we are going to get our captain. Oh,
and, of course, the whole crew takes up arms.
When they're all taking up arms together, and even little Kaylee, who's so afraid of guns. Ugh.
And, of course, I love the preacher because he knows his way around guns.
He had a great line, too. So it says, isn't there something in the Bible about not taking life? Says, absolutely, but it's considerably less clear on kneecaps.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yes.
Rules lawyering the Bible. I love it.
Yep. So we really have some great action in the rescue. And, of course, they do get Mal, and Niska buys it. It was all just a great sort of ending scene. Everybody gets involved. I can't remember, did Zoe actually ever fire her gun, or did it cut away to the preacher who killed the person who was about to shoot her?
I think it cut away to the preacher, but I think almost everyone got some good shots in, except Kaylee, quite notably.
Right.
There were 3, I guess, guards or whatever coming towards the ship, and Kaylee she couldn't bring herself to do it. She couldn't bring herself to shoot the weapon. She is the definition of a lover, not a fighter. And so River comes up out of nowhere, takes the gun, turns away, and shoots them all one by one, flawlessly. And then no explanation is ever given, but Kaylee becomes very afraid of River. I thought that was a great ending to the battle.
Now, there was, unfortunately, I've forgotten something because I made a mental note of that scene. And River said something.
No power in the verse can stop me.
And I interpreted that to actually mean a positive, which was that she had a sort of an ESP ability or a sensibility or an ability. We've seen her ability to read thoughts. But I'm watching a series on the science of science fiction, and maybe it's not her ability to read thoughts, but that there's a class of people that actually can communicate through thoughts, and maybe she's one of those. So the ability she showed, and it was stunning, and it was all of 3 seconds when
So
she
elegant.
says that and does it. Yeah, exactly. That I actually thought we're seeing her power come to light in a way we hadn't seen before. And I didn't think,
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't think it was a negative. No, nothing can stop me. I thought it was a positive. This is what I can do when I have to.
I had a slightly different take on the phrase. I thought that because she was modified, she was tested on, and all these things happened to her. I think somewhere deep within her is an awareness of what she has been turned into. And I don't think she knows it in like her conscious mind, but I think it's there. And I think when it comes out and she gets these little drips of awareness of what she has become, I think that's where that came from. And it's watching her move. The actress is so beautiful. Like every movement is like a dance. She has that training, but she's just wonderful to watch.
You're absolutely right. It is. I was going to say it was almost choreographed, but yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's just the way she can move. Yeah. Anyway, whenever the cavalry comes to the rescue, of course, as a Westerner, I appreciate that. So the cavalry came, rescued Mal, gets him back together, and we're off for further adventures.
There was one kind of delightful ending scene that I thought was just so fun. And I think it really, for me, it solidified one of my favorite things about the relationship between Zoe and Mal is their complete and utter lack of sexual or romantic chemistry. There's none. Like, they are friends, they are war buddies, they are colleagues, there's great mutual respect, but there's no spark of attraction there whatsoever. But calling back to the torture scene, Mal decides to poke a little fun now that everyone is safe, and Zoe, we're going to have to do it, and it is our duty, sir. And they have this super awkward hug thing, and then Zoe and Wash run off. But I just thought that was a really funny scene, and I wanted to mention again how much it's so nice to see platonic or professional relationships between people like that without like third wheel or 3-way romantic problems are so boring in television. I just love that they chose not to go that direction and instead do this.
I had a sense in this episode of a line or a series of lines from a Star Trek show, the original series City on the Edge of Forever, where they go back in time. Spock and Kirk go back in time, and Kirk, of course, falls in love. And Joan Collins is the love interest. But at one point, she speculates they are not from around here. And the here is Chicago in the 1930s. And Spock says, where would you think we are from? And she looks at Spock and says, you at his side, as you've always been and as you'll always be. And I realize that's how I see Mal and Zoe, that he's not friend, he's not companion, he's captain. And she's lieutenant. And it's yes, sir. Even if she doesn't say it, she says it. Yeah. And she views him as the commanding officer. And that can be a very defined, a very powerful relationship, even between men and women, where there's, as you said, no attraction sexually. And so I really felt like she belongs at his side, not in front of him, but at his side as the subordinate officer. And Wash, he can't understand that.
Yeah, and I think what Wash gained from this episode was a deep conviction in Zoe's love for him. and a better understanding of the relationship between Mal and Zoe. I think he understands it a little bit more now, even if he knows he can't have it. And I just thought that was a really nice way to kind of make everyone feel good about their place on the boat.
It was a rollicking, fun episode. Lots of action. It's pretty tough torture, but I really enjoyed this one.
Oh, me too.
We're at the end, and I'm Tom Fox.
I'm Megan Doherty. See you next time.